It was a cold, overcast evening when I sat down with my parents in their small, warmly lit living room. I had no idea that this conversation would unravel the very foundation of my trust in them. My parents, in their late 60s, had always been my rock. They were the kind of people who believed in fairness and family unity, or so I thought. As the youngest of 3 siblings, I often felt like the observer in our family dynamic. My elder sisters, Rachel and Emily, had always been closer to each other, leaving me to carve out my own path. I didn't mind much. Independence suited me. Growing up, our family wasn't wealthy, but my grandparents had left us a substantial trust fund. Each of us siblings was entitled to $100,000 to help us build our futures. The money was meant for education, emergencies, or starting a new chapter in life. My parents, as the executors of the fund, were entrusted to safeguard it until we were old enough to use it responsibly. It was a gesture of hope and love from my grandparents, ensuring we all had a chance to chase our dreams. Rachel and Emily, however, had long since exhausted their portions. Rachel had dropped out of college halfway through and spent years traveling the world. Emily had a similar trajectory but returned home with a child in tow, relying heavily on my parents for support. By the time I reached adulthood, I knew my sister's financial struggles had been a source of stress for my parents, but I assumed my share of the trust fund was untouched. I had been careful, saving diligently from part-time jobs and earning scholarships for college. Unlike my sisters, I wanted to prove I could stand on my own 2 feet. When I turned 25, I finally decided it was time to use a portion of my trust fund to invest in my small business. My landscaping company had been growing steadily, and I needed new equipment to expand operations. With cautious optimism, I approached my parents one evening, expecting a straightforward discussion. Instead, their uneasy expressions set off alarm bells in my mind. "We should talk about this as a family," my father said, his voice unusually strained. My mother nodded, avoiding eye contact. It was a peculiar response, but I brushed it off, thinking they wanted to ensure I had a solid plan for the money. The family meeting was set for the following weekend, and I spent the days leading up to it with a growing sense of unease. That Saturday, we gathered in the dining room, the atmosphere heavy with unspoken tension. My sisters were there with their kids, laughter and chatter filling the space. Yet beneath the surface, something felt off. My father cleared his throat, signaling the start of the conversation. "There's something we need to tell you," he began. "It's about the trust fund." A knot tightened in my stomach. He went on to explain, his words faltering as he revealed that they had used a significant portion of my share over the years. Medical bills for my niece, legal fees for Rachel after a DUI, and countless other family emergencies had drained the account. When he finally disclosed the remaining balance, a mere $3,000, it felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. I sat there in stunned silence, trying to process the betrayal. The money wasn't just a financial safety net. It was a symbol of my grandparents' belief in our futures. My parents' decision to prioritize my sister's needs over mine shattered the illusion of fairness they had always upheld. "We never intended for it to end this way," my mother said, her voice trembling. "Your sisters were in such difficult situations, and we thought we were doing what was best for the family." I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but all I could do was sit there, numb. How could they justify taking my share without even discussing it with me? The betrayal cut deeper than I could articulate, leaving me questioning everything I thought I knew about my family. In the days that followed, I struggled to maintain my composure. My parents continued to defend their actions, insisting they had no choice. Rachel and Emily, on the other hand, seemed oblivious to the gravity of the situation. They expressed fleeting regret but quickly shifted the focus back to their own hardships. It was as if my loss was an afterthought, a small sacrifice for the greater good. Determined not to let this setback define me, I threw myself into my work. My landscaping business became both my refuge and my rebellion. I worked tirelessly, pouring every ounce of energy into growing the company. Within a few years, I had achieved what once seemed impossible: a thriving business with a loyal client base and a team of employees who shared my vision. But the wounds from the trust fund debacle never fully healed. Every family gathering felt like a minefield, the unresolved tension lurking beneath the surface. My parents tried to mend the relationship with small gestures. A thoughtful gift here, Israenia, a kind word there, but it was never enough to erase the betrayal. Then, one evening, an unexpected phone call from my father changed everything. He asked to meet me alone, saying he had something important to confess. Curiosity and caution warred within me, but I agreed. We met at a quiet park, the air heavy with the scent of pine and impending rain. "I need to tell you the truth," he began, his voice tinged with regret. "Your mother made most of the decisions about the trust fund. I went along with it because I didn't want to cause more conflict. But I knew it was wrong." His admission hit me like a wave, washing away the anger I had clung to for so long. For the first time, I saw the weight of guilt he carried, the toll it had taken on him. Yet, his words couldn't undo the damage. The trust fund was gone, and with it, a piece of my faith in the people I once relied on. As we parted ways that evening, I realized that forgiveness wouldn't come easily. My father's honesty was a step in the right direction, but it couldn't erase the years of resentment and hurt. I needed time to rebuild my sense of self, to find closure on my own terms. Months later, another revelation blindsided me. My fiancé, Alex, admitted he had been in contact with my family behind my back. He'd reached out to them, hoping to mend the rift and bring us closer together. While his intentions were noble, the secrecy felt like a betrayal of its own. "I just wanted to help," he explained, his eyes pleading for understanding. "I thought if I could get them to apologize, it might make things better." I struggled to process his actions, torn between gratitude for his efforts and frustration at his lack of transparency. Trust, once broken, is not easily repaired. His interference reopened old wounds, forcing me to confront emotions I had buried deep within. In the weeks that followed, my family's attempts at reconciliation intensified. Rachel and Emily showed up unannounced at my workplace, their children in tow. They spoke of regret and reflection, acknowledging the mistakes of the past. For a fleeting moment, I saw sincerity in their eyes, a genuine desire to make amends. But their words couldn't undo the years of pain and betrayal. Eventually, I decided to meet with my father again, this time accompanied by Rachel and Emily. We shared a quiet meal, the atmosphere tinged with both hope and hesitation. My mother's absence was palpable. Her role in the trust fund debacle remained a barrier too large to overcome. As we talked, I felt a glimmer of connection, a fragile thread that might one day weave us back together. Yet I knew that true reconciliation would require more than apologies. It would demand accountability and effort from all sides. My father's repeated assurances that he wanted to rebuild the trust fund felt hollow without concrete action. I needed proof that their promises weren't just empty words. As I contemplated this, a thought struck me. What if I could create my own safety net, one free from the shadows of the past? I began to research ways to build generational wealth for myself and my future family. The idea of independence became my driving force. I realized that I could transform my landscaping business into something bigger, something that would stand as a testament to my resilience. In the following months, I started attending business seminars and networking events. I expanded my operations, hiring skilled workers and investing in modern equipment. Soon, I secured contracts with larger clients, including local municipalities and commercial properties. My business was no longer just a means to an end. It became a thriving enterprise. Through this journey, I found a renewed sense of purpose. My focus shifted from what I had lost to what I could achieve. With every milestone, I felt the weight of my family's betrayal lessen. I had built something of my own, something no one could take away. Then, one evening, I received an unexpected letter. It was from my mother. She wrote about her regrets, her sleepless nights, and her hope for reconciliation. She offered to start repaying what was taken from the trust fund, even if it meant selling personal belongings. Her words were sincere, but I couldn't ignore the pain her actions had caused. I decided to meet her, not to rekindle our relationship, but to seek closure. As we talked, I saw the guilt etched into her face. She admitted her mistakes, but the damage was done. While I forgave her for my own peace of mind, I knew our relationship would never be the same. Over time, I came to terms with the past. My business flourished, and I found happiness in the life I had built. I surrounded myself with people who valued honesty and integrity, creating a new family of my own making. Though the scars remained, they served as a reminder of my strength and resilience. And so I moved forward, knowing that my story was not one of loss, but of triumph. The trust fund may have been squandered,